evening, everyone. Welcome to the Parent Academy Power Hour, Engaging Fathers and Father Figures in Education. My name is Sheila Kane, and I'm the District Coordinator for Family and Community Engagement. We're really happy you're all here with us tonight. We have two presenters from the Father and Family Council, Executive Director Mark Baker and President Lawrence Claremont. The Father and Family Council, their purpose is threefold: engage, equip, and encourage men to be their best selves, with the goal being of strengthening families and improving outcomes for children. I love it. Mr. Claremont is going to start us off tonight, so Lawrence, it's all yours.
All right. So I just want to say thank you and welcome to everyone joining us tonight for our webinar on engaging fathers and positive male role models, being presented by Father and Family Council. My name is Lawrence Claremont, and joining me tonight will be Mark Baker. And this is going to be interactive and hopefully engaging for you. And so there will be plenty of opportunities for you dads, to join the conversation, and we certainly hope that you will. Now, we put together a fast-paced presentation packed with lots of information, and I guess that's why they call it a power hour. And so we're going to try and move through as quickly as we can, but also give each topic, time for us to just dive in and engage in conversation. But I just wanted to do a couple of housekeeping items. If we can go to the next slide. Is one, since it's a Zoom meeting, most of us now in our new, normal, so to speak, have become accustomed to doing a lot of video conferencing, Zoom seeming to be one of the bigger platforms. So one of the things that we ask you to do is just to mute your microphone, so that you can help minimize the background noise and help to create basically a good experience for all of us. And if you have any questions, just to raise your hand, or post a question in the chat. Sheila is monitoring the chat, and she'll help guide us if there's anything that comes up. And then also use the chat feature to share thoughts and ideas and engage in conversation in the chat as well, because we all come from different backgrounds. We all have different lived experiences, but at the end of the day, we're all here, for what's best for our children. And the session is being recorded. I just wanted everyone to know that, and it will be made available later, for you to view again. And I will always say share, share, share. Now, keep in mind that this is an ongoing series, with the school district. So we do encourage you to register for upcoming power hours that will be there. So, Mark, I believe you are up.
All right. Thanks, Lawrence. We're going to spend a little bit. You had a chance to learn a little bit about us. We want to give you a chance to let us know a little bit about you. So we've got a couple polls here that we're going to do. We also will show you the results. We want to give you an idea of who else is in this room here with us. So we're going to share the results with you. And Lawrence, whenever you're ready, you can put the surveys up, and we'll take a few minutes to fill out the answers and then share the results. While you're doing that, let me just mention that, as we go through this, it is only an hour. We have a lot of ground to cover, and so we obviously can't cover everything. You're going to notice that a lot of what we talk about is going to be aimed at elementary school, maybe even younger age kids. And that's probably a good thing, because the truth is that the earlier dads and men get involved with their children's education, their lives, the better the outcomes are for them. And so we definitely want to help encourage that, getting involved early. But what happens when kids get into middle school and into high school, as they begin to grow and establish their own personalities, they tend to kind of pull away a little bit. And so it's harder to maintain those relationships when they get older. We're not going to spend a lot of time talking about that, but we have some ideas on how to help with that. But if I could, I would share one thing with you that I found very powerful. I heard Andy Stanley say one time that acceptance paves the way to influence. And so, if you want to have influence over your teenage son or daughter, you need to find a way to cultivate the idea of acceptance and let them know that you accept them. And I'd love to explore that more with you, but I think I see we're filling out our poll here. So we'll go on and kind of share the results with you on that. And then As always, as we go through this, we would love to have a dialogue with you, establish a relationship with you as dads and caregivers and parents and mentors. We'll share our phone number and our contact information later on. You're welcome to call us. We would love to do that and have a little deeper dive into some of this stuff.
All right, Mike. So the poll results are up. So we have a lot of dads in the audience, and I want to say thank you to the moms and the grandmothers that are here. And then when we look at the grades, Mark, I don't know if you want to speak to what you see.
Let me bear with me 1 second. Let me scroll a little bit. Okay, yeah. So early learning, VPK, K through 5, obviously the most. And college and university, we have some. Okay, so you know. Again, I would just tell you, as we talk about 9 through 12, 6 through 8, the middle schools, the kids are like tweeners, right? Sometimes they respond in the same way they did in elementary school. Sometimes they don't. But you know what? I would just tell you that even though it's harder to get through to them, maybe it seems like it's harder to get through to them, it's probably even more important that as a dad, you keep that connection strong all the way through high school and even into college. Just speaking for myself, I know that my relationship with my father, it didn't end. In fact, it was probably more important to me when I was in college, even than when I was in elementary school. So that relationship might be hard, but it's still important. Anybody have any thoughts they want to share on this? Raise your hands if you do. Okay, well, we're gonna spend the next hour talking about male engagement and presence. Maybe it's only 45 minutes or 50 minutes now, but I know how guys are. We like to get to the bottom line, so I'm gonna cheat a little bit here. Don't tell Sheila that I did this, but knowing that we like to get to the bottom line, I'm gonna give you the 2 takeaways. There's 2 things that I would love to have you take away from our session today. Number 1. Engaging and being present in your son or daughter's life. Number 1, it's easy, and number 2, it's important. If you get nothing else out of it today, please take those 2 things with you. It's easy and it's important. Now we do have at the very end, so that you don't leave, we do have we've empowered a very, very powerful panel that will discuss what it takes to make a great dad. So don't miss that session at the very end of our hour. If you could, yeah, there we go. On to the next slide. So I don't know if you've seen some of these statistics before. They seem to be getting more and more popular. We see them more often, but the good news is that here in our country and our society, we're kind of focusing on the idea that father absence is a problem. And we're kind of taking a look at some of the bad things that happen to our children when fathers are not in their lives. And so I put up a graphic here. This is from the National Fatherhood Initiative. And they've spent a lot of time and energy studying these subjects, and they are a great source of information. I don't want to dwell on the negatives, but you can see them on the screen there if you want to scan through them. But I do want to talk about a couple things that I've noticed. They've produced a series of cards called Just the Facts, and they kind of zero in, they drill down on an issue. And this one caught my eye. Women with absent fathers are more likely to have children with absent fathers. And so I thought about it, okay, so it makes sense, as we raise our kids, we're models for them. They watch us, they mimic what we do. They take their cues from us, and our daughters are the same. They take their cues from us. So that kind of makes sense. But the next thing really kind of hit home. Children living without fathers in their home are 47% more likely to live in poverty. 47% more likely to live in poverty. I think, in a way, that's a testament to moms who are single parent moms trying hard to raise their kids. But that's a fact that's hard to overcome. 47% more likely to live in poverty. And then the last thing I just want to mention is that almost 20 million children in this country live without their father at home. And so, you know, when you just kind of extend that out, in terms of a society, that's an issue that we just need to be aware of. And honestly, at the heart of what Father and Family Council does is trying to change the narrative, that, you know, how we focus, what we talk about every day. For men, we want to encourage the idea that we talk about the importance of men being involved and engaged with their families, so that if we can do that in our community, maybe this year, next year, in a generation, we can begin to impact those results and reduce those numbers. We have some more statistics for you here. None of us can change all these things by ourselves, but if you're interested, I'd encourage you to go to these sources, fatherhood.gov, and take a look at some of the things that, you know, are ideas that you can do or be aware of, so that in your conversation with other men, you can be supportive and encouraging for them to become part of this. Become part of changing the narrative, and that's what we would like to encourage you to do, is change the narrative. You know, what we find is that no matter what, we're going to find that sometimes life circumstances are stacked against kids and families. And, you know, it's not just single moms. As we were talking, you know, Lawrence noticed one of the statistics, I think it's in here, maybe not, but one of the fast facts we noticed was that there are a lot of single parent homes that are led by men, not just women. And so it's an issue in our society that, you know, single parent dads have the same kinds of problems that single parent moms do. Like Lawrence said, dads come in all shapes and sizes, come different gifts and blessings, have different ideas on how to do stuff. We all have our differences, but when we come together, we want to see our children prosper. We want what's best for them. And even though the circumstances are stacked against them, we do have some tools. You know, the idea that we can reach out and be a part of extended families is also it's a big deal. So we have some grandparents here. We have some grandmothers here. That's awesome. They are an important part of an extended family and help us to be positive role models for our children. And we especially appreciate the moms who have to take on so many extra roles, and not just be mom, but also be dad. But we want to recognize them and their effort. As you take a look at these, does any of this resonate with any of you? Does any see something that has affected them and has a suggestion on, or a thought on how they've handled it, what we might look at? Okay. How about we go on to the next slide?
This one all the way back. Okay. So this evening, we're going to try to focus on 3 primary areas for us as men. And it's what we can do at the home, what we can do at school, what we can do in the community, but also what our schools can do for us as men. Now, in the previous slide, there was a graphic here in the bottom right, where involved dads improve their children's overall emotional and social well-being. And that one really resonates with me, because oftentimes we want our kids to be successful. We send them to school, but I've always been of the belief that we have to look at the whole child. Everything around that child, you know, that they're involved with has an impact on them. And so that's their health, their wellness, you know, their spiritual being, you know, their relationships that they have with family members. And so oftentimes we don't necessarily focus on that. And it's time that we do, because, you know, our kids need us and they look to us for guidance and support. And I'm hoping that as we go through the presentation this evening, everyone will find some small things that they can do. I'm sure we're all doing some things. We might not be doing others. And maybe tonight is the night that we start on a new journey as we interact, you know, with our children. Now, at home, one of the key things in literacy, you know, there's a quote from UNESCO that literacy essentially leads to economic, you know, social, and a whole host of other issues. If our kids don't know how to read, they're going to have some difficult challenges, you know, as they get older. And so the ability to read is known to be one of the most critical skill a child needs to be successful. I've encountered fathers who don't know how to read. And so that creates a challenge for them. But there's some things that you can do. One is to engage, you know, with others to help read to your child. But then, and this is probably very simple in its essence, is that you can just speak to the pictures that you see in the book with your child. So you don't necessarily have to read it word for word. The key here is to spend time, you know, with your child. The other thing that most of us as dads that are really good at is establishing a routine. So you can set a time for homework, chores, and other activities. And then I know with my daughter, she's doing this new math. I ain't never seen it the way that they do it. And so I can't help her. But what I can do is provide her with some help and some resources and the time maybe spend with her friends to be able to get the support and the resources that she needs. So even though I can't help her do it directly, there's indirect ways that I can help her to be successful. And then one of the other critical things is to make the most of bedtime. And at bedtime is usually when the kid is winding down, you know, for the evening. And that's that last touch point that I call it, that we can have a positive thing so that our kids sleep well at night. So at bedtime, you can enrich your child's life merely by talking about what happened in your day, ask them about what happened in their day, and then just leave it on a positive note so that when they wake up in the morning, they wake up, you know, with a good attitude. And I have to stress that every moment you spend with your child is an opportunity for you to build a relationship with your child. And at the end of the day, that's what we all want, you know, with our children, whether they're our sons, whether they're our daughters. And I'm also going to throw nieces and nephews and other, you know, childlike relationships, you know, in there. And I think this is you, right, Mark?
I think you're going to play that for our audience.
All right, so I'm going to play this for our audience.
You got to see it, okay? You got to feel it. You ready? You ready for school? Yeah. Is it going to be a good day? A really good day? You going to be positive? Say, I am strong.
I am strong.
Say, I am smart.
I am smart.
Say, I work hard.
I work hard.
I am beautiful.
I am beautiful.
I am respectful.
I am respectful.
Yeah. Say, I'm not better than anyone.
I'm not better than anyone.
Nobody's better than me.
No one's better than me.
I am amazing.
I am amazing.
I am great.
I am great.
What's your name?
Aaliyah Austin.
If you fall,
I get back up.
what are you?
I'm blessed.
Yes. Say thank you, God,
Thank you, God,
for making me
for making me
the greatest.
the greatest.
There's nobody
There's nobody
better
better
than me.
than me.
All right, give me 5. Give me a kiss. Let's go.
All right, so it looks like we encountered some technical difficulty, even though it worked during our free trial. But what you'll see is the father just giving those positive words of affirmation and some encouragement before the school day starts. And it's very touching because at the end, you know, she gives her father a kiss on the cheek, and then they get their day started. But the key thing here is to always speak into our children, you know, positive things, you know, about themselves so that they build their self-confidence, their self-worth. And if you take it back to what we saw in one of the statistics, that helps to develop some positive social emotional, you know, aspects for them. And it contributes to them being successful, you know, while they're at school. And yeah. I'm going to see if I can go to the next slide. So I don't know what's happening.
Well, if you want to, while you're doing that, let me just kind of reemphasize that that slide, that whole little section right there was kind of a bridge between two topics. One is the idea of daily routines, and the idea that, that happens every day, that's something that she looks forward to, it just lifts her up every day is great. But it also touches the idea of literacy. And, you know, so we talk about literacy, a lot of times we just think about reading, the importance of reading. But I think literacy kind of touches several things. Not only is it reading, but it's also the written word, being able to write. And so as we look at ways to connect with our children, we should be looking at ways to connect not just with reading, but also with writing. So we could write a letter that comes, we could help them write a letter to a relative at the right time and when they're ready. The written word is hugely important as well. And you know, the third thing I would tell you that it's worth spending time on, and we just saw that father do it with his daughter, it's the spoken word. Being able to speak is an important tool. It's a foundational tool for success in life. And so he's helping his daughter express some difficult things to say out loud. And I love the way that he's using his words not only to validate her, but also to help her speak out loud the things that are important to her. You know, as I've worked with men, what I find is that we're a lot alike. You know, I relate to this because I find it difficult, and I know that my father did as well. You know, we're about going to work, getting our work done, we were talking about a song earlier, Bring Home the Bacon or something. I don't know. I don't think I've ever heard it, but you know, I mean, we can relate to that topic, Bring Home the Bacon. But we don't spend a lot of time expressing our feelings. And so what I love about programs like, for example, we're going to talk about All Pro Dad in a moment or two. What I love about programs like that is that we encourage dads to be able to stand up and say in front of their children, you know, why they're important. And so the expressions on their kids' faces are just powerful as they hear their dad say things that maybe they've never heard them say before, certainly in front of other people. And so the ability to feel comfortable and express yourself, speaking lovingly into the lives of your children, is an important tool. The spoken word is very important, and it goes a long ways for us. We have another example here, and this one actually is brought to you by our friends at All Pro Dad. If you want, here's a secret sauce for successful dads. This is it. You watch this and you'll know what to do.
He may not remember his very first best friend, all the games that you were able to make, those times that you let him help, or how that school project actually got finished. But this, he will always remember this. Dads, take time to read with your kids tonight.
Oops. Well, that was awesome. We didn't quite see the whole clip, but as I watch that, I just see in so much from my kids' lives when they were younger and still at home, is that I particularly like the part where the little rubber plastic balls fall out of the container and so the dad was letting his son learn by his mistakes. We can all learn from that. But if you're looking for one simple thing to do, it's read at night in a way that's engaging with your children. That's something that we can all do. Spend 15 minutes in this powerful. There's probably nothing more powerful that you could do and simple and easy than read for 15 minutes with your child at night. And the younger you start, the more positive, the better the results will be in setting up them with the foundation for life. Sheila, let me ask you a question. I was going to have Paul Kelly speak about All Pro Dad for a moment or so, but he sent me a text a while back saying he was running late. Is he in our group here? Is he with us right now?
Let me check.
Okay. So our next topic is, what we can do at school and what kinds of things that, where we can be involved at school where we can make a difference. And so, again, there are some things that are just very obvious, parent-teacher conferences and those kinds of things. But I have to tell you, you know, in terms of being at school, I just want you to think about one thing as you kind of look through these items on here. So we talk with our children about how important education is. We tell them it's important, and they listen, and they probably,
when I click on it, don't mute it.
quiet. They you know, they listen and.
You're on mute, Mark.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Not sure what happened there. Sorry.
I just gave you guys all the secret sauce for success for being a parent. And apparently I went mute. Wouldn't you know it would happen then? So it costs you $25 to sign up for the next session. No, I'm just kidding.
Mark, while we're pausing for a second, I don't see Paul unless he's joining by phone, in which case he should unmute and let us know he's here. But I'll keep an eye out for him.
Okay, thanks, Sheila. Anyway, let me just tell you, if there's one thing that we do, it's read with children. And here's the deal. As far as at school goes, it's one thing to tell our kids how important school is, but they know if they see us as dads not involved in school, they get the idea that school is not important to us as dads, and if it's not important to us, it's probably not so important to them. If they see us at school, spending our time and being a part of what's going on, then that reinforces the idea that school is important. And if we're going to talk about how important school is, we just need to put our time and our resources into that. We need to be a part of that school, engaged and present. We can go to the next slide, and I'll talk about at school, some of the activities that go on at school. You know, meeting your son or daughter's teacher is huge. Letting them see your face, know who you are, know whose child is yours. Let them know that you care. There's nothing more powerful than that. I understand we can't do that now, and that's a frustration. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But it doesn't mean that that's not important. You can see some of the other things on here that you can get involved in. What, in my experience, so dads, and it's just interesting. Somebody said one time that, you know, they asked me what's the biggest, the highest mountain, the highest hurdle in the state of Florida. And, you know, I said, well, I don't think there's any mountains in Florida. And they said, well, yeah, no, you're wrong. There is. It's that front door to your school. That threshold, that's the highest hurdle in the state of Florida. Dads can't seem, they're just not able to get past it. So, so what we need to do is, you know, as dads in schools, we need to be there, but we need to encourage other dads to do that same thing, to be there. We can do that through some of the groups and the associations that we form. You know, and I understand, I don't think I was ever really an active part of PTA. It's an awesome organization, but what I found in the last few years is that dads clubs can spring up, and dads clubs can be something like, you know, started around something like All Pro Dad, and that's an easy way for dads to come. I'm not sure. Maybe a show of hands. Do you have an All Pro Dad chapter at your school? Is that something that exists there? If you do, raise your hands. I'm not seeing any hands. Okay, good. So we got some fertile ground to plow. All Pro Dads chapters are awesome because they're just so easy. I remember when I first discovered, I went, and I just remember going to school when my kids were young, and there was always this fear that, I don't know, the walls would shake, the ground would tremor, the principal would come out with a frown on his or her face, and, you know, bad thing. It was always bad things. I only went to school when it was bad, when there was a problem. All Pro Dad's different. You go, you meet other dads, you have breakfast with your kid, and you talk about positive things. And usually the principal will drop in for a moment or two or longer at the meeting, and they'll listen to you he or she will listen and they're smiling. It's a great way to form relationships with other men at your school. And then as you become comfortable being at school and you see that it's okay, you don't get asked to volunteer for like 500 different things. You can begin to look around and find the kinds of things where you can make a difference at a school. You can be a greeter as kids arrive in the morning. You can come and be a mentor at lunch hour. We'll talk some more about some of those things. Principals have a long list of things that they need help with, and they're happy to share that with you once they get to know you, and you can convince them that you're worthy of their trust. So anyway, so All Pro Dad's a great thing. If you don't have a chapter, golly day, I would say go to your principal and say, hey, how come we don't have All Pro Dad at our school? And he or she will say, well, I don't know. Probably they'll say, we're just looking for a volunteer. And so that could be your way in. That could be an awesome thing to do. Our next slide, Lawrence, are we ready to go on?
Yes, and thank you, Mark, for that information. And so for the everyone on the call, I know that we as dads want to get involved in our kids' education. And one of those ways to do that is to understand the resources that are available to us as parents so that we can monitor and see what's happening with our kids. So the first resource is the 2020-2021 Parents Guide. The school district puts this out every year, to provide all of us with important dates. So for example, test dates, when report cards are coming. If your kids are like mine, the report card is never coming. Even though the date is come and gone, you still haven't received it yet. And so you have to chase after them to give it to you. But it's available in English and Spanish, and there's a wealth of information to help you structure the school year for your kids. The other is the Code of Conduct. That's the little thick booklet that we get. Most of us pretty much just rip the front page out, sign it, and send it back, and we don't necessarily read it. But there's a lot of information in there that provides expectations, for student behavior, and it also supports personal growth and promotes student learning, not just for our children, but for all children. And so I'd encourage you to take a look at that, because if there's anything that happens, to your child in school, that code of conduct is going to guide you on exactly what resources and remedies are available to you so that you can advocate for your child when a situation arises. Now, I think the tool that you will most likely use weekly, daily, or however you want to engage with it is Focus. Focus is where you see your class schedule for your kids. You see their grades, not just their final grades, but their current grades. You see the grades on the different assignments that they have in their homework. You see the grades on the test. You can also see the assessment history. So all these multitudes of tests that we hear our kids complaining about that they have to take and they don't know why, those results will be in Focus so that you can see them and engage in conversations with the teacher, about what is it, what does it mean, and what do I need to do to help my child. But then with Focus, you can also engage in conversation with the teacher. So as a parent, you can have communication back and forth via Focus. And then a lot of the schools use Focus to do announcements, of upcoming things, whether it's testing, events and activities at the school. And so if you don't have a login, I would strongly encourage that you reach out to your school to see what you can do to have a login. Now, for my situation, I have custody of my kids, and so their mom has a separate Focus login so that she can go in on her own and keep track of what's happening with the child's education. And so I don't know how many you can have. Maybe Sheila can share that, but I know if you're in a custody type arrangement, both parents can have access to the child's information. And the other good thing about that is I would always say be sure if you're enrolling your kids or filling out paperwork that you include both the mom and the dad's information so that you guys are getting the information equally and also, at the same time. And as we know, we all have to work together and co-parent in a positive manner to get the best out of our children. Are there any questions about these particular tools? All right. And so we're going to do a quick poll. I'm not sure if this is my slide, Mark.
I had a question.
Yes.
And it does go with respect to the focus thing. I've actually talked to both his VPK program and now his kindergarten program a few times about getting set up, which I have been, but they haven't transferred his information from to actually be on my focus account. How do I remedy this?
Sheila, you able to help with this one?
So your student, you can't link to your student in your account. You don't, or you can link to the student and the data is not there.
It just simply shows like a blank screen and has my information. That's about it.
Okay, so probably they haven't linked you to your student. I'll go ahead and put my email in the chat. It's easy to remember or write down real quick. And
Sure.
Please feel free to email me and I'll follow up with your school tomorrow.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Okay, sure.
All right.
So Lawrence, while you're getting that poll set, I would just tell you, thank you, Sheila. You're looking at one of the all-stars, the Family Engagement Office, that whole division of Pinellas County Schools is such an amazing resource. Sheila's a part of it. Dr. Brim leads. Michelle Roberge also is a part of it. And they just are, they're a caring, motivated group. And I would encourage you to, if you have an issue, obviously you want to try and work it through at your school first, but they're a great resource and they're very supportive. So we're grateful for them. We're blessed to have them part of our, our school system here in Pinellas County. So our poll is, are you currently a volunteer in your child's school? This is an easy one, yes or no. So those of you who have 2 children, sorry, I think we can only answer for one, even though you're doubly involved. Cool.
All right, looks like we have most of the folks participating.
Okay. So awesome. So those that are I do have, I would love to invite Steve Kipcash. Steve, are you on here? If you could unmute. Would Steve is a volunteer and he's working he has some experience with Lunch Pals. And I know Sheila's going to smile when she hears that. But if you could tell us about that a little bit. How did you first get involved? How did you discover Lunch Pals?
Yeah, sure. So I got involved with Lunch Pals through my work. I heard about it and work at Raymond James, and they were doing a Lunch Pals program, and I wanted to learn more about it. And the more I learned about it, the more I thought it was very interesting. It's a great way to help the community and kind of give back to a child that might not have a dad there or might not have a mom back at home. And it's just a 30-minute lunch meeting once a week with a child that you get assigned, and you just kind of mentor them and speak with them. Of course, this year they're actually doing it virtually, but if you're interested in that, you can go to lunchpals.org, and there's a lot of information about getting involved. But it just really makes a big difference for a kid's life, especially like the kid I mentored a kid for 2.5 years. Unfortunately, he moved away, but it was just great seeing him grow and progress. And, when I first started going, you could tell he was kind of like hesitant. He didn't really want to connect with me too much because he had abandonment issues. And then when he noticed that I just kept coming back every week, he just made 30 minutes a week. That's all I did was have lunch with the kid 30 minutes a week. And it really made a big difference in his life. And just little things. Little things like that. His grades started improving. His self-confidence grew because he was starting to get more attention. And it just, I was just really just his friend once a week at lunch. And it was a great blessing in my life just to be a part of that. And I'm going to continue with doing that with a new student this year virtually. So I'm looking forward to it.
So when you when you met with him, did you do most of the talking or did your student?
Well, it depends on the child, but I would say towards the beginning, it was definitely me kind of doing most of the talking. And then as like later on, it just sort of just became him wanting to tell me all about his day and all about like his homework and stuff like that. So
yeah, yeah, that's great. That's a sign that you bonded with him. How many other men there at Raymond James are a part of that, do you think?
So I don't have the exact numbers, but there was definitely quite a few people from Raymond James. I would say more women actually would do Lunch Pals though than men, which is still great. But a lot of these kids, you know, come from, most of them come from homes that don't have a father. So they're always looking for men who want to help out their community and stuff.
Nice.
Say, Mark, is about 125 mentors from Raymond James.
So there's quite a few.
Dr. Griffin?
Hey, Valerie.
Hi.
All right, so
You didn't hear what I said earlier, did you? Oh, no.
I've been here since the start, but I wanted to just chime in, thank him for talking about Lunch Pals. But it is about 125 mentors coming from Raymond James.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So, like, what I wanted to do is I just want to, so Lunch Pals it's a program. It's a one-on-one program. Stephen's as a mentor. He meets with, you know, a student. That's great. But when you can band together in your work, in your business, then you begin changing the narrative. You gather a small group of men that volunteer and have an impact, and you can leverage that. And so I love to hear about Raymond James, but I'd also tell you, let me share with you a couple things. At our church, there isn't hardly a Sunday that goes by that our pastor doesn't speak about our church's relationship with Melrose Elementary. And just before COVID started, he issued a challenge to us. He said, at Melrose, we need 75 mentors. And so we started to try and gear up for that, but then we got hit with this COVID, and obviously things were a little harder then for the end of the school year. But the point is, organizations, businesses, as well as churches can have an impact. And I love the idea that that your pastor, like our pastor, can talk about it from the pulpit as well, to encourage that kind of participation. I went to Melrose and I talked with the community liaison, and she said, yeah, we need them for Lunch Pals. I wasn't sure what program our pastor was talking about. So turns out it was Lunch Pals that she had informed him about. And she said, no, I've got 99 requests on my desk for Lunch Pals. So I'm glad that Raymond James has 125 mentors. The need is great. There's plenty of room. There are a lot of our students that could greatly benefit from that half an hour a week. So I would encourage you to be involved in that. And thanks for that. Can we move on to the next, or did you have something you want to say, Lawrence?
Yes. While Steve was talking about his mentees, I noticed his face just lit up, as he was talking about them. And so I just wanted to see if he could share what the experience has been like for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's been very rewarding. I'm not a father yet, but it was just that 30 minutes a week. I really did bond with that kid, and it was an amazing experience. And like I said, I'm currently, he moved away, so I'm anxious to get a new mentee, but looking forward to it through the virtual experience this year.
All right, thank you, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Steve.
All right, so the results are there. 86% of our attendees are not volunteers. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the opportunities that are available, for us as dads to help our kids in the school.
Yeah. So on our screen right now, we have a list of some things that we can do. So here's the truth. The truth is that we're on as school started, we were on a 9-week lockdown, parents not on campus, and we're dealing with the issues of how to do on-site learning and off-site, remote online learning. And so there's a lot that we're working through. You can see on the screen now some of the areas where volunteers are needed and greatly appreciated and can have a tremendous impact. We probably can't actually do most of those at this moment, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be planning on it, that we shouldn't be looking and preparing for it, so that when we are able to resume, we can make an impact. Because I would tell you, I have great respect for our school system, for our teachers and our administrators. I know they work hard, and I know that what they do is hugely important to them. But there's a piece that is important, and that piece is family engagement. That's what we're here talking about, and we're talking about how men and women can be a part of family engagement. Really, that's what the issue is here. And so I would encourage you, you're welcome to take our information down. We have some suggestions on how you might be able to get involved in your child's school. We're happy to help with that. Your best source of information, I'm sure it's just going directly to the school and inquiring about how you can get involved. But here are some of the things that you can do, and we just would strongly urge you to, as we work through our COVID restrictions, to prepare yourself for the point when you can return. Stephen mentioned that the Lunch Pals program is something that might be able to be done virtually. I know one of the principals was talking about bringing laptops to the lunchroom so that that relationship could continue. That's a pretty creative solution. That's hard to do, but that's a sign of how important it is. Lawrence, you wanted to talk about the PTA a little bit, I think.
Yes, and also SAC and booster clubs. And so for everyone on the line, these are support organizations that are in most of the schools, especially at the high school level. You're looking at booster clubs, the lower elementary, middle dads clubs. But these are opportunities for you to be involved at the school, have your presence be seen at the school, and then also be directly involved in decision making that is happening at the school and those things that can affect your child's life. Now, I know too often than not, when we talk about PTA, we think about bake sales, and we also think about the stereotypical, white suburban stay-at-home mom. And so for most of us as men, we say that's not, anything that we want to be involved in. But I have to say that is not today's PTA. PTA is very diverse, and they recognize the positive benefits that men bring to the table and encourage men to be involved in a variety of different things that happen within the PTA. I myself have served on PTA for 10 years now, and a variety of different levels, a president at the middle school, county council president, currently serving at the state level. And for me, it's been a very rewarding experience having a say, in bringing programs and things that children and families want at the school, but also just seeing the impact that it has, on the enrichment, for their academic lives. Now, the School Advisory Council, is pretty instrumental in the school improvement plan. And it's also instrumental in approving and evaluating the school's annual budget. I've served on SAC as well, and I know many other men that have served on SAC, and it is an opportunity to be directly involved in how the money, is spent at the school. Booster clubs, whether it's sports or performing arts, and I always stress that not all men are into sports. Some of us are very artistically inclined and have other interests outside of sports. And so our kids are too. And so there's many opportunities within booster clubs for us to share our time. And Mark has done a great job of talking about, dads clubs, All Pro Dads being one of them. But I would say, because I know that we are getting ready to run out of time here, I don't know if we can go a little over, but reach out to your family and community liaison to talk more about these opportunities that are available directly in the schools. A lot of these groups are meeting virtually. And so even though COVID-19 has had an impact on some of the things that we're doing for these first 9 weeks of schools, these programs are meeting virtually. And I guess we'll reassess, what they're going to do in the upcoming semester. But reach out to the family community liaison to get more information and to put you in touch with the folks that are running these programs. And if there is no dad's club at the school, that's a great opportunity for you to step up and say, hey, I'd like to lead it, and get the other dads at the schools involved. Now, Mark, I'm going to go ahead and do this one real quick.
Okay.
These are some of the mentoring programs that are available at your schools. We just went into pretty good detail about Lunch Pals, but there's also 5,000 Role Models of Excellence. There's also the Girlfriends of Pinellas County. Now, I'm a little not aware here if men can be involved in Girlfriends. So I don't know if Sheila and Valerie want to step in, or is it just females that can participate in that program? But I put it here just to show that there is something available for our young ladies. And then there's also the Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Tampa Bay that have school-based mentoring programs. And Mark, and on this particular slide, it just talks about the volunteer orientations that are coming up. And so if you go to, I guess, lunchpals.org, and I'm not sure if Sheila can post the link in the chat, but to become a mentor, you have to attend the training. The training is virtual. It doesn't take that, I think it's 60 minutes. And that opens the doors for you to have opportunities to give back, you know, within the school environment.
So I'm just going to add, I'm going to register for the October 8th seminar, webinar for the mentor program. And so any of you who would like to join me, that'd be awesome. Love to have some company in there, October 8th. And because I want to be part of this new Lunch Pals program. Maybe we do them virtually. That'd be fun. It'd be a hoot.
All right. Now we talked about that we'd be looking at things at the home, you know, at the school and in the community, and just wanted to quickly talk about some of the things that you can do in the community. And so we all know that we can play, you know, games or sports, or take our kids out to the park and just engage in some outdoor activities with them. You can become involved in community activities. And so that could be like a local community group, a place of worship, a professional group, or any organization that's, you know, participating, you know, where you can go in and participate with your child. And this specifically speaks to like service organizations. So like your church may go out into a neighborhood to do, you know, a cleanup, and kids, you know, especially the younger kids like to get involved in those type of things, because again, it's them spending time with their dads. And then I always say, go out on family outings, you know, libraries, zoos, museums, concerts, sports, and not everything, you know, has to be paid for. There's a lot of things that can be done for free, you know, to engage with your kids outside of the home. And then always, I would say, use your community center. They bring a lot of programs into the neighborhood, you know, a lot of things where you and your child can go and participate together, whether it's be learning another language, taking a self-improvement class, being involved in the arts and music program. Just reach out. And also the libraries do a lot of different types of programs, you know, for families. So these are a lot of different ways outside of your home that you can get involved with not just your kid, but other children as well, like nieces and nephews and all of the other family members. Now, the other part that I always like to speak to about being involved in the community is that we, as U.S. citizens, have the ability to vote. And voting is one of those rights that, you know, does a lot. And so we know that the legislature makes laws that affect our children's education, their health, and their wellness. And so I always say to anyone to vote. If you don't like what's going on, your vote can make a difference. And so always vote your voice, especially when there's particular issues that you know, want to, you know, get involved with, or to say, hey, I would like to put this person in office, let me vote for them. The other thing that's going on right now, and it expires tomorrow, is the census. A lot of us don't realize how the census impacts funding. And this is like Medicaid, you know, CHIP, you know, SNAP programs, the Title I funding that goes to your schools, when we look at the ESC students, their IDEA's funding, this is also looking at, you know, free and reduced lunch. And there's a whole host of other things like infrastructure, the roads and the parks, you know, that we all like to go out to, you know, to play with our kids or drive around on safe roads. If we don't complete the census, then there's an undercount that happens, because everything is based on population. And so please, if you haven't done so, register to vote and then vote. The thing that's coming up in November's ballot is the referendum. It is up for renewal. And if you're not aware, the referendum funds a lot of the budget shortfalls that our schools are experiencing here in Pinellas County. And so it goes towards reading programs, music and arts programs, buying up-to-date technology. And we know that COVID-19 pretty much showed that not every family has, let's say, equipment, internet access, and sometimes maybe even our own school equipment could be outdated and it's not necessarily ready, you know, for a COVID-19 world, or should I say, going to school in the pandemic. But that also uses to purchase books, but more importantly, to recruit and retain teachers. We've heard a lot about the teacher pay issue and a whole host of other issues, but recruiting and retaining teachers, and I'm going to say quality teachers, is another big impact from the referendum. And so the link there will take you to the PCS website, where it will tell you a lot more about the impact that the referendum has. And when we look at spending time with our kids, you know, engaging your child in the civic process is huge. I can say for myself, I've always brought my kids to go vote with me. And I've not seen any child that walked out of the voting precinct that got an I voted sticker that didn't want it. And so they wear that I voted sticker as a badge of honor. And it's also the opportunity for you to show your child what that civic process looks like and talk to them, you know, about what's happening when you're completing your ballot and the different things that go along with that. But show your kids what civic in action looks like, and they'll always, always, always remember that, and then also be productive citizens in this voting process as well. Now, we want to talk about what schools can do, and I don't know if you want me to go ahead and do these, Mark, because of the time, but what I will say from a school perspective, when we as men walk into the front office, welcome us, because nobody wants to walk into an environment where they don't feel welcomed. And when we feel welcome, we'll always come back to the school. And as school staff, you know, greet the fathers by name, get to know who they are, and just talk to them to find out what their interests are, what they want to do with their child. But then when we're looking at you as teachers, you know, recognize our child's progress and the things that we as fathers are doing to help with that. Someone had mentioned before to me that when they go to a parent-teacher conference, it appears to be more like a mother-teacher conference, and the father's not being engaged in that conversation. So I will ask that if you're a teacher on the line, engage the father in that conversation, because they have a really big impact, as we've seen from the statistics that were presented earlier, how much of an impact we have on that child's academic success just by being involved. And always recognize, you know, the contributions that fathers provide. You know, as parents, we want to know and really hear that they're contributing to the children's success. You know, sometimes we hear the bad stuff, but most of the time we don't hear the good stuff. So share some of the successful things that our kids are doing. And then if you recognize the contribution that father's making in his child's learning, he's always going to want to come back to return. And this could lead to more fathers wanting to be involved in the volunteer opportunities that are available, you know, with Pinellas County Schools. And I would always say, work with the father on different strategies, you know, to mentor other young fathers or to mentor, you know, first-time fathers. And those are things that we can do, that we do through Father and Family Council, but those are also things that can be done at the school, or should I say at the teacher level as well. And we kind of talked about the teacher meeting. We talked about what fathers want, but this one is pretty big, and sometimes we just kind of overlook it. But images, you know, posting pictures of fathers engaged with their children, you know, in the classroom, photos and drawings, you know, on the walls of the classrooms. If our kids, you know, created some artwork with us in it, posting it around the classroom so that when we walk in, we see this. It's the same thing that if you put it in the hallways and the front office. It sends a very powerful message that we want fathers to be engaged and involved at the school level. Now, when we want to find out what fathers want, what you hear from a lot of us that, you know, operate as male practitioners is just ask. You know, most of us, like myself, I'm not real, you know, wordy, but if you come up and ask me, I'll share with you, you know, how I feel, you know, what my thoughts are and things like that. And it also draws me into the conversation and what you are trying to achieve as well. And so that way we can work as partners. Now, you'll always hear me say and talk about self-care. If we've got it, you can't pour from an empty cup. And if we don't take care of ourselves first, there is no way possible that you're going to be able to take care of those around you. And that's our kids, our wives, or whatever your living arrangement situation is, your outside families, your work. And so always, always be mindful of your mental health. So yes, that means you have to go get those annual checkups if you can. And yes, that means to your spiritual health. And I don't know what churches you go to or what your religion is, but spiritual health is very important for a lot of us, but also mental health. You know, we, too often than not, we as men feel that we have to be hard, that we can't show emotion, and we just hold it in, which creates stress and a whole other realm or spectrum of symptoms that we're not necessarily aware of. So mental health is also pretty big, you know, from a male perspective. And these are separate topics that we can spend another hour, you know, talking about. But that middle picture says you got to nourish to flourish. So pour into yourself so that you can pour into others.
Yeah.
Now, this video is from the mouth of kids, and they're going to tell us, they're the experts at the end of the day, what they see and how they view us and what they want from us as dads.
Hi, this is Daniel from Denver, Colorado. My wife and I are having our first baby in about 10 weeks, so I was just hoping I could get a few tips on how to be a great dad. Thanks.
My name is Ellery. I am 6 and 10/12. You can also call me Ellie if you would like. Good morning. My name is Lucy Pizza. I'm 7 years old, and this is evidence that fathers rock. A perfect dad should be very nice, have really good eyesight, and be able to, like, do things that other dads can't do. A great dad needs to have love and has to have funny things and great ideas. He gives me awesome ideas, like to use styrofoam for making a model of a rattlesnake. A good dad always stays with his baby when the mother's gone. He gives me lots of love. A perfect dad for me, he would be kind and helpful, and we would live in a mansion. He's a really good driver.
A dad is a male. He's an adult male, and he's big and tough.
He can see, like, really far. He's tall. His legs and arms can stretch and stretch. He has a hairy chest.
They have a hairy chest.
A hairy chest?
Just a little beard or something right here.
You're talking about my dad, aren't you?
I never seen your dad.
He usually wears jeans, a lipstickless mouth, shiny teeth.
He has, like, marks on his face.
Wear a tuxedo. He has a little mustache here, all over here. Here. He would be very suitable.
Let's say he's hairy then, okay?
I never call my dad that. This is really serious. A dad should never, ever say toodles. He should say goodbye, but he shouldn't not say goodbye. And because that's a sign of not really loving. The first thing that I love about my dad is how he cares about me.
I just love him so much.
My favorite thing about my dad is when he takes me to the park so we can play baseball. I like everything that my dad does. Dads are, like, really fun to have. Like we teach our dad things, and our dads teach us things. I don't know the word for it, but it's, like, awesome. It's really cool.
So as we wrap this up, if there's just one thing that I would point out from that video that I take away from it is that it's presence. It's being present in our children's lives that makes the difference. And those children, I don't know that they had anything specific that they love their dad about, but they love being present. They love seeing them, seeing their dads. And so that's it. We thank you for joining us. We'll continue.
Hold on, Mark. Sheila, do we have time to play one more video? I would like everyone to see it because it's from dads here in Pinellas that's just sharing some of their wisdom and some of their experience, you know, with their children. And it's from the JWB Fatherhood Collaborative. And it's only about maybe 3 or 4 minutes. We've heard from all of the PhDs, our kids who have the PhDs in fatherism. And so I just want everyone to hear, you know, from dads.
Absolutely. Play it away. People jump off if they need to, but let's get it a part of the recording, and you know, those who can stay can enjoy it.
Thank you.
Now more than ever, fathers make a difference in their children's lives. JWB and our partners are lifting up local dads, sharing their tough and tender sides, and showing what it means to be dad strong.
The way that I explain to them how life is, it's like a video game. You level up, you don't level down. And by doing that, it's education, work, and financial freedom.
And these are very important developmental months for a child, especially with learning how social skills work and how to interact socially with others. So instilling those values at a very young age, all you can do is help guide it.
Basically, everything you do, they pretty much watch you. You know, pretty much how you treat people, how you carry yourself, and they pretty much watch everything. So I try to lead by example.
Actually getting to spend time with them and getting to know them, spend some time and teach my kid a lot of things that maybe I didn't have the time to do.
The coolest thing about being a dad, period, and I think she wants to answer for me. It's this. It's watching her answer questions for the first time. It's watching her want to express herself. You know, watch her.
Pretty much the best thing I would say is like, you know, with watching your kids grow, you know, like from the moment they're born in the world, you know, being by them every step of the way as they learn how to, you know, sit up, fall, stand, walk, you know, pretty much everything. And then when they say their first words.
Every day what we do is go out and walk the dog so they can rest a little bit from the schoolwork. That was a bonding moment that I as a father have with them. It's some me time with the boys.
What I like about my dad is he has like a really good balance. When to be serious and when to get stuff done, and when to mess around, joke around. And I don't know, it's like a perfect balance for this.
I read to them, try to, you know, make sure they, you know their letters, their numbers, how to sound out stuff. You know, try to do my best to try to, like, teach them as much as I can.
Being a good role model, so it's really just maintaining composure. You know, you let them know, like, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to, you know, to trip up and to fall down, but you have to keep your composure. You have to keep your calm and work through the problem. Don't let it get to you.
Mainly being a good person, responsible, being a kind human being, and hopefully that be passed on to my grandkids if one day they do have kids, decide to have kids.
It's pretty much just be there for them, watch them smile, you know, plus be very patient, you know, because, you know, that's one thing, you got to have patience, especially if you have more than one kid.
Kids are like a sponge. They absorb so many things.
You want to be a good father, you want to step up, and you want your kid to be like, yeah, that's my daddy. Dude's got it on lock. Like, he's got my back. If you want to be that kind of dad, it's not about you anymore. Your story's on pause. It's not over, but it's on pause.
Dads are strong. Nurturing their children and giving them a solid foundation to lead successful and satisfying lives. the Pinellas Fatherhood Collaborative is helping build strong dads. Learn more at www.jwbpinellas.org/fathers.
All right. Mark, do you want to close it out for us?
We covered a lot of ground tonight. We're going to fly in 3 things. Here's what you could do tomorrow. Pick one. Introduce yourself to your child's teacher. Go meet your committee liaison. Sign up to be a volunteer. See where they want to put you. Schedule an appointment to meet your principal. Just sit at their desk when you can and let them see your interest in what they're doing. Ask how you can help. They'll have ideas for you. Those are 3 things you can do. They're easy. You can do them right away. And it's important. Thanks for joining us. This information will be available online. You have our links there. We're happy to provide information if you need us. We do truly appreciate you being here today with us. We're just grateful for what you all do. Just the fact that you're here, you're interested in your children's futures and their lives. And so we appreciate that. Again, thanks Pinellas County Schools for letting us do this.
And Sheila or Valerie, did you guys have any closing remarks?
I just wanted to thank you both, Mark and Lawrence. This was an amazing session, and I had a very active chat, lots of information going back and forth. So the PowerPoint, the PDF of the PowerPoint, I will also post that along with the recording link, because there were a number of links in there that people were interested in. So that will be, all of it is going to be housed on the pcsb.org/Parent Academy page. So you'll find upcoming sessions, new and different topics for you or others in your family to register for. You'll find recording links to this session and past Parent Academies, all kinds of information. We have an upcoming Parent Guardian Connection meeting. That's a new initiative this year. And there's a meeting next Tuesday. That topic is parent stress, the bright side. So we'll all learn about what that means, the bright side to stress. And that's all. Dr. Brim, do you want to say anything?
I just want to thank Mark and Mr. Lawrence for presenting, and that I did see a lot of comments about they're waiting on the next session. So the both of you need to move forward planning our next session on our fathers. Thank you. For our fathers.
Yeah, good stuff, guys.
All right. I just want to thank everybody that joined us tonight. We do look forward to having another session, and I hope that all of you will return to join in on that. But just remember, at the end of the day, our kids love us no matter what. And all they want to hear from us are those positive words of affirmation and just to be there for them. And I know that right now we're going through some challenging times, but don't let that stop you from being involved, in your child's life.
Oh, let me say one more thing. I did want to say, because Mark, you had those 3, takeaways, and all that can be done now. Don't wait. You can pick up the phone and call the school and have a conversation with the principal, make an appointment for a conversation. You can't expect them to be available every second of the day, but the same thing with your child's teacher. Send them an email, call the school and leave a message. It's sometimes even easier to do it, picking up the phone than it is to make an appointment for a parent-teacher conference or, to come in and, get time to sit down and talk. So don't let Lawrence, don't let the challenges we're in now stop you from reaching out and making that, overture in that relationship.
All right. I guess this concludes our session. Everybody have a good night.
Thank you.
And thanks for joining.
Good night.